Hello, my fellow readers. It's I Dark Symphony 777 with a new video. I wanted to at least come back from break. Uh, Note this video, despite being recorded on my birthday, April 10th, this is not going to be uploaded until the 20th. So I at least wanted so that way I can get some more time to rest because of everything happening at work. But I wanted to at least get back into it. So yeah, that is it. So I'm just gonna have a little fun by doing a total drama tier list. So you're wondering, wait, why am I doing something related to total drama? I'm not like one of those channels that are dedicated to total drama. Uh, the reason being is I'm actually part of a group of friends, and they all like to talk about total drama. And while I was at work because it was super busy that day, they all decided, hey, let's just do a tier list. And I honestly wasn't really able to participate in that tier list. So I figured, hey, I'll just record a tier list of my own, just give my thoughts, and have a little fun with it. Like, this is not going to be a super serious video. This is not going to be a deep discussion video or any reviews. It's just going to be me goofing off. Doing this video is just going to be for my friends. You know who you are. So I just want to have fun. Uh, Wait, quick note. I will be only doing the first two generations. So only be about yeah, it'll only be about the contestants from Island, Action, World Tour, and Veg, and also technically All Stars. I never watched Redonkulous Race. I never watched Pakatu, and I didn't watch uh, the reboot. And I didn't watch the reboot. I never watched those ones, and even All Stars, I'm a little shaky on because I never actually got a chance to watch all of ours All Stars. I saw the majority of it, but not the entire thing. So there may be pieces of it I'm missing. But yeah, let's actually get started. Also, uh, make sure to like the video, and honestly, just give me your thoughts if you don't like any of these placements. So you know what? Let's actually go and get rid of the revenge characters because I don't like revenge. I think revenge out of the seasons that I remember seeing, it was honestly the worst season. I didn't like revenge. I never really cared about revenge, even after all these years. I was like, I just don't care. So yeah, let's just do all the revenge characters real fast. Anna Maria F tier. I get the point that she's a Snooki reference. I don't like Snooki. That's pretty much all she's in. She's just Snooki. She's just a cartoon Snooki. And my mind just keeps going back to the time where Snooki wrestled at WrestleMania with John Morrison and Trish Stratus, and like, no, just no, no, just don't exist. B also F tier. He's just there. He's silent. Oh, he's a tech whiz. All right. He's just eliminated to. He's just cannon fodder. Revenge of the Island had like the habit of having a new cast, but only at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 characters. Contrasting with the Total Drama crew, not only having like 3 seasons, but also 22 characters. So there there's you have to there's not much time to give them as much depth as you can with the Total Drama character with the first gen. So that kind of really screws some of these characters over. I mean, it's kind of like B is kind of like that. He was just there. He had one moment to shine and he's gone. He's a big silent guy. Don't have much to say about him. Brick. Wait. D tier. I think he's fine. He's basically a better written DJ, and I DJ got dirt. got done dirty in this in from the on a from a writing standpoint. I think Brick was just, let's just do DJ, but actually entertaining. But he's not really. But again, but Brick is another symptom of there being like such a small cast of characters, so you're not given time to really connect, and everything. His character feels rushed. There's this whole thing with Joe. Joe wasn't really that good a character either. Like I said, I only really liked like 2 or 3 characters in Revenge, which is fine. Yeah, Revenge is really bad. Cameron. Ooh, let's see. Cameron. This one's, I think he's the only wild card because I have very solid opinions of everyone, but Cameron, every time I think of Cameron, I have a different thought process on him. He's technically Ezekiel. Like he's technically Ezekiel, but he's done much better because he's not blatantly a whole running gag making fun of someone like Ezekiel was. But think think his character was like very weak. I know he cannot. I know supposedly canonically he didn't won. Lightning. I believe Lightning is the canon winner of Revenge. I don't particular. Yeah, that's the Cameron is like the hard one to rate because there's parts about him I like, but there's parts of him like I don't like. I like the core idea, like he was just a like a more or less homeschooled boy locked in a bubble because his parents were like safety freaks, and he basically joined the contest basically to just open up and try and do something new with his life. And I think that's fine. I think that is fine from a character standpoint. But my problem with him is he doesn't really grow past that. He does get more confident, and he does grow like a spine. There's this whole rivalry with Lightning that kind of defines the second half of the show. Like Revenge is not a long season. It's really not. So I think he's fine enough. I think yeah. I'll put Cameron at C. I'm being generous, but that's fine. Dakota, the Paris Hilton knockoff, F tier. Even when she turns into a monster, there's not much going for her. She's just like B, where she gets screwed over by like, just not enough screen time and just there. I don't particularly care. Turning into a monster and falling in love with a nerd, that's interesting, but doesn't save her character from being just completely flat. Dawn, F tier. She's overrated. She's literally, in my opinion, she's the most overrated character in the entire series that I know of. Like I know people like are overrated about Heather or Gwen or Duncan. She's my overrated character because people watching the show, I kept hearing from my friends growing up when the show was airing on Cartoon Network. All my friends kept comparing her to Gwen. It's like, oh, she's just like Gwen. She's gonna make it to the end. And it's like I'm looking at her, and it's like this is not Gwen. This is just Snow White. It's just a really hipster Snow White. I don't know why. I know they did something with her in All Stars. I think so far she's like the first All Stars representative. I know they did something with her where like she was losing her touch. Think I think it was with DJ. I can't not remember if DJ was in All Stars. I honestly can't. Correct. Like honestly, I believe there was a storyline with Dawn and DJ in All Stars that was like ended really quickly. Like they had something to do with them, like the animals actually starting to hate them. I think that was it. I don't know for sure, but I knew Dawn. I know Dawn was in All Stars, but I know she got eliminated pretty quickly. I think she was like the first casualty of Mal. Uh, it's fine. Who's next? Joe, D tier. She's the fact that we had contrasting villains this season because they technically had because Revenge had two villains. We had Joe and we had Scott, and Joe was the one who was trying to conform to like the traditional villain, total drama villain antics like manipulation and trying to like deliberately antagonize everyone. And Scott was like more the goofier, justice threatening villain because he was like letting himself be the butt monkey and get humiliated by Fang. Uh, but he was like more devious about everything because he was trying to like constantly be in the background. I think I also not a fan of the whole Jane Lynch. What was the name of it? I think it's Jane Lynch, the gym teacher from Glee reference. That's basically who she's based off. Um, I don't. I just don't care about her because honestly, she was just weaker Scott. Not only was she weaker Scott, she was also weaker Alejandro and weaker Heather. I will say she's better than Justin. I think next to Mal, Justin's like my least favorite antagonist. Uh, but Joe is just been there, done that. I get the point behind her role is to kind of better highlight Scott's antics because he's supposed to be the different one. But Joe is just really there. Lightning. Okay, so Lightning's interesting. Lightning is another casualty of the season being too short because the fact that it took until season 4 to get like a jerk jock is interesting. But the whole idea that he's a jerk jock with like an actual reason that he's a jerk jock, being that it's implied in I think in the final season that his coach bet a lot of bet a lot of money on the guy and basically saying if you lose, yeah, all your scholarships, all your shit, you're not getting them anymore. You don't have them anymore. So like that's literally giving him like forcing the motivation of him having to win at all costs. I think that would have been interesting if that was kind of followed up, but if I remember right, this specific motivation kind of only happened at like the like I think the penultimate episode of Revenge when the Lightning kind of took the stage. At that point, it was already kind of cinched that Lightning was going to win, so it's kind of Lightning was going to be in the final, so it's kind of toss up between Cameron and Zoe. Uh, I do think like the jerk jock being a jerk jock because he's literally he kind of has to do it more out of pragmatism because otherwise he loses everything. I think that's fine. I think it's an interesting idea. I'm surprised I don't see this idea explored more in media. I think the only time they might have explored was Danny Phantom with Dash. I don't know. I don't know. But my problem with Lightning with this is just the fact it happened at the end of the show. That's the problem I have with this. If this was like implied throughout the season, then I'd probably put Lightning here. The fact that we did get something, I put Lightning at B. I think Lightning. I think next to this guy, he's like the best running character. Sam F. Oh wait, now I'll save Mike for last. Sam, he's just a gamer guy. He reminds me of that time I think a couple of years ago where that one what's that mobile game? Nikki made like a Korean commercial where like three Korean girls were like shaking their boot at like a very stereotypical gamer. And I think that weirdly reminds me of that for some reason now. And it's like he gets Dakota, like that's fine, but he doesn't really develop behind this. I get the point where a lot of these characters, like all these characters, are meant to be stereotypes. That's kind of like the whole point of behind every single character. They're all stereotypes. That's the purpose of the basis of their character. But a lot of these characters, especially for revenge, they're just not giving enough time to like explore. And I know Sam was in All Stars too, but he got I think he was like the first or second eliminated in that season. I honestly can't remember. I legitimately can't remember if when Sam was eliminated. I know he got eliminated really quickly, but I don't remember specifically. Scott. I like Scott. I think he's literally the guy that carried Revenge. I think Scott was a great idea after 3 seasons of essentially the same the same archetype of bad guy. You know, like the Heather, the Alejandro, the Justin, even the Courtney to an extent. Having a villain be more crafty instead of like instead of like a dom like what a lot of total drama fan fictions tend to do is like they tend to have the bad guy be like Heather and be like, oh, get an alliance, get like patsies. They kind of force it, the forciest, and but Scott is like very manipulative. Is the fact that he'll actually deliberately like sabotage his own team in order to eliminate what he feels are threats to his victory, and even like the whole the totems that basically give you elimination. He like him constantly leaving fake totems that with imperfections that he knows about, because a lot of woodworkers they tend to be able to spot their own imperfections, which is honestly a great attention to detail for that sort of thing. Woodworkers knowing intrinsically know that they worked on certain things because they see their imperfections. Really really good detail for that. And also the fact that Scott's like a more goofy villain compared to Heather and Alejandro and Justin, who's trying to take these guys who are like super serious all the time. Scott's constantly trying to be this super serious guy, but he constantly gets hunted by Fang, and so he kind of always gets like his just desserts. I think that's a great dynamic. And again, Joe's like the whole reason Joe's in this care in exist is basically to kind of build up the fact that Scott's just a better villain. Like you see the old school versus the new school. I think that's fine. I know Scott almost won. He more or less got screwed by Mal. And I think he became more comedic in All Stars. That's fine. I have no idea who you are, but I know she's a compulsive liar, and I know she's basically cannon fodder. It's like there's nothing I can do with that. Zoe. Yeah, no. Zoe, I I really I really hate Zoe. I think personally Zoe is probably my least favorite character of the entire show, of like all the seasons. And here's why. The whole point is Zoe is supposed to be a something of like that girl next door hipster type of character, but she has no personality. She's just a naive normal girl. And normally I would say, oh, well, maybe she got screwed over by like the formatting. No, the problem is she came in third in Revenge, and then she was the supposedly canon winner of All Stars. So she had 2 seasons for them to do something with her, develop her character, and they don't. They just she starts as the naive girl who just wants to make friends, who is, the hipster type, and then she ends All Stars as a naive, slightly less naive hipster girl that just wants to make friends. That is so fucking stupid. I hate Zoe. Like she's just I literally felt every time when the few times I watched like Revenge and All Stars with my friends, I just pretend falling asleep whenever Zoe opened her mouth, because I found her that boring. I think she's the worst winner. I would honestly say next to Beth, she's the worst finalist. Beth, thankfully, Beth is a worse finalist than Zoe. There's also the fact I really don't like the fact that they completely tell you who's going to be in the finals of All Stars. Once the whole thing with Mal being in control of Mike pretty much the entire season. The moment Mal shows up, yeah, that's the show literally telling you here are the finalists. It's Zoe and Mike, and that is so immensely dumb. Because all the three other seasons they always had like that wild card figure. Like with Island, it's like Owen was technically the wild card. You expect the finale to be Heather versus Gwen because that's honestly what the whole thing was building towards. And then here comes Owen, and he kind of shows up and he just proves he's a wild card. And now everything's kind of like, is he going to make it to the finals or not? Or it's like you don't know. So I can't say anything bad about Zoe. Anything more about Zoe. Mike, let's save this guy. Let's give this big boy for now. I like Mike as a concept. I think Mike as a core concept is great. Next to Scott and Lightning, I'm putting him right here. Mike as a character is perfectly fine. I like the idea of a guy dealing with multiple personality disorder or dissociate identity disorder, whichever one you want to call it. I think he has a really, really fair, realistic interpretation of how the disease works. Like you have the tells and all the like he knows the identities exist, but he's not trying to. And he kind of gets along with them, but I do think it's kind of cheesy. It's fine, but the reason he's not an A tier is specifically Mal. I think Mal is the worst villain in total drama. Here's why. One, going back to Zoe, once Mal shows up, the show's pretty much telling you who he's gonna be in the finals. Like the show is basically just shoving in your face. It's gonna be Zoe versus Mike. That's that normally would be fine if not for the fact there's all the previous seasons had that wild card figure. We had Owen, we had Beth, we had Cody, and even in Revenge, we technically had Zoe herself as a wild card. But All Stars, there's no wild card. It's just Mal just completely shoving everyone away, like just completely decimating everything. And the writing behind Mal, okay, fine. You want to do another instance of like a completely different archetype instead of like these like a manipulative. Mal's just an honest asshole. He doesn't care about the life of others. He doesn't care who gets in the way. As long he doesn't. I think it's even implied he doesn't really care about winning. He just wants to hurt people, and that's fine. But the problem is he doesn't really have anyone to bounce off. All the other previous villains had someone to bounce off of to kind of accentuate their strengths even more. With Heather, we had Gwen. With Justin, we had I think it was Lindsay, if I remember right. Honestly, I'm not a fan of Action 2. With Courtney, we had we had Duncan. With Alejandro, we had Heather. With Scott, we technically had Fang, but if you want a more clear-cut example, you had Lightning. You had both Joe with Brick and Lightning with Cameron. Mal doesn't have anyone to bounce off because he's just so overshadowed. He's just so overpowering. Not only everything that goes on around him, but everyone too. To the point where the eliminations when Mouse just starts fucking everything up kind of fall into like a very samey pattern. Someone finds out that Mao is evil. They say, "I'm not gonna fall for it. I'm gonna try and stop you." Mao basically just curb stomps them, and basically, and now everyone's like, "Oh, you're going home." Why? Because Mike said so. Like it, it happens with pretty much like half of the cast, and the fact that he does it to every single other previous, well, major previous villain. I'm not counting Justin because I don't think Justin was it was in All Stars. No, I know Justin was in All Stars. Courtney was though. I think Courtney was though. Like he outsmarts Heather. He outsmarts Alejandro. He's outsmarts Scott. Although Scott at least is like a butt monkey and he like lasts long enough to kind of reveal the truth to Zoe. He he doesn't earn that proper villain because he just he they have to go bend over backwards. The writers have to like just shop and fraud themselves into trying to have Mao constantly outsmart and outplay all these villains in the dumbest ways. It's so bad. That's why I don't like. That's why I hate All Stars. My only like I like the concept of All Stars with the whole villains versus heroes thing. The only thing I don't like about All Stars is Mao because he's such a poorly written villain, and also how he's defeated is such a fucking travesty. Because I actually liked Mike's personalities, so having Mike literally just wipe them all out with just pressing a button is really stupid. Like makes no sense because it's honestly a plot hole. Like I know I have heard of tales of people with multiple personality disorder erasing personalities or kind of locking them away, which is kind of what Mike did. They him and his other personalities team out to basically lock Mal in like a deep part and are basically just trying not to get him out of there. But the way it was done, because usually multiple personalities, they kind of like none of them really want to leave, and also they kind of it takes a lot of time, and they're never permanently left. So having Mike just press a button and like they all die, it's really poor writing. Plus I liked Mike's personalities besides Mal. I think he was other than Mal. I liked Mike. I think he was funny. He had a lot of good moments, but that was it. So now we're moving on to the Gen 1 characters. I will say this. I'm probably going to talk about Total Alternate Island a couple of these characters. Mainly because I love Total Alternate Island. It's one of my favorite fan fictions of all time. And that fan fiction did a lot of these characters way better than what's canon. So who do I start with? Let's get the non-island characters out of the way. Plainly F. She's literally just there as a filler contestant. She just wants to spike Chris. There's, there's nothing. She has nothing behind besides that. Sierra. Okay, so here's the thing. Sierra is kind of a divisive character. You either really like her because she does have some genuinely funny moments in World Tour, or you hate her because she's in essence a frighteningly realistic take on a superfan stalker type character, which is what she is. She's a superfan. And the way she behaves towards Cody. I don't like the Cody stalking thing. I think it like that's like the thing with Sierra. She's supposed to be unlike everyone where they're meant to be stereotypes that kind of like you get to explore. You do get to explore Sierra's character a little bit, but it's supposed to be just frightening. Like if you dig a little bit into World Tour and you see watch the Sierra parts, you realize they didn't need to develop Sierra's any the character and that much because at the end of the day she slowly becomes more and more of a caricature as the season goes on, which I think was the purpose behind it. Because, hear me out, Sierra is a Superman. She's obsessed with the show, she's obsessed with Cody, and she wants to marry. Let's honestly get rid of like the whole pedophile, because I believe she is an actual adult, and Cody I think is like in his teens. Um, Sierra is supposed to be a like instead of a parody, like a stereotype of this, she's just an actual super fan put into the show, and just say, have at it. Just how would a super fan act? And being around longer causes her to become more enveloped into that super fan philosophy. I think that's what Sierra is supposed to be. She's not supposed to be, well, she's supposed to be the stereotype of the super fan, but also show a realistically disturbing interpretation of what a super fan actually is. Like, she, unlike every other stereotype, which, like, as the show goes along, especially for Gen 1, where like you see different aspects, you see them grow into full characters. Sierra is like literally the opposite, where she actually starts as like a fairly three-dimensional character, and then she slowly just warps into a full-on caricature by the end of the show. I think that's completely frightening. She she starts out as a super fan, but then she slowly just becomes more and more obsessed as the show. I think, and like I'm probably like doing too much mental gymnastics, but I think Sierra, from a writing standpoint, is really clever. Her character on the surface is very creepy. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It's just disturbing. But I think that's the whole point. They made Ezekiel to make fun of homeschool. I think Sierra's literally made to like showcase how disturbing superfans can be, especially nowadays in like 2024, where like there are tons of superfans, and they'll just throw political slurs at you if you even disagree on anything. Like, I don't like Ruby. I don't like Ruby that much, but I know there are some people who are so obsessed with Ruby that offering any criticism, whether it's valid or not, will just say, your insert whatever political insult or just anything to try and just ruin you. Go on. So I have to put Sierra at A, because of just how cleverly disturbing her entire character is once you understand what she's supposed to be, how she functions. If we're talking about her as just a character by itself, it should be here. But as a writing tool to just showcase what she's supposed to be, she's frighteningly effective. Finally, Alejandro. Esther. He's not as good as Heather. Heather is still possibly the best villain in the entire series, but Alejandro, in my opinion, is a very close second. He's basically Justin, this guy, except he's actually effective. He's very suave, he's very charismatic. He does do the Heather thing, but he changes enough of the dimensions. Like, he uses the fact that everyone's against Heather again to his favor. Like, oh, look Heather, look what Heather's doing. Look what she's manipulating your stuff. And basically like getting like and being so charismatic that he's basically the ladies man. He's basically like a dark, disturbing ladies man character. I think that's great. I loved his character with Heather. The fact that they bounce each other off perfectly. It was basically a villain versus villain whole thing. It actually made me want to root for Heather. Like, I know near the end it was obvious it was going to become Heather versus Alejandro, but Cody was like just enough of a wild card that kind of put that seed of doubt into it. That kind of made me want to believe it's not going to be like that. There's also This Is How We'll End It, which was, I think, the best song in World Tour. I know a lot of people hate the songs in World Tour, but I kind of like. I was kind of like hit or miss, but This Is How We'll End It is just a perfect villain song. It's a great villain song. Kind of showing his mentality of like, yeah, he's evil, but he's doing this for the camera. The implication that he's actually not really like this in real life. He's only doing this because of the camera, of the fact that he's charismatic. He wants to win, and so he sees in his mind manipulating all these people as just a way to win. And he's not really, again, he's not really supposedly not that bad a guy behind the camera. It's literally just a front to put up for the cameras. I think that's fine. I think just everything about Alejandro is great. Again, he ain't Heather. He's just not Heather. Heather is like even on another level. I may just even make a tier just for like Heather, but no, I'm not gonna do that. So now we have the generations. Let's get rid of the ones I don't feel like talking about much. Justin, F tier. He's just a pretty boy. He does become like the main antagonist in the first half of action. I know Courtney kind of takes over in the second half, kind of, but he's just bland. He doesn't really even say anything in Island. He just exists. He's just cannon fodder. Uh, Katie and C. Let's do these two. They don't really have much going for them either. Um, they just exist. Like they're not even like canon like good cannon fodder s characters like Eva and Ezekiel. Uh, Spoiler: these two are actually gonna go not be an F tier. Um, Maybe I'll put no. Like we have Sadie. Like that's the thing with these two. They're inseparable because their whole gimmick is they're basically like the two super best friends who do literally everything together to the point where they kind of like they hurt each other. They get hurt when they like have to separate in some way. I can get that. I can get the idea behind that, but it's just Katie gets eliminated too early, and Sadie doesn't really do much of anything after Katie goes. In alternate island, Katie does hook up with Ezekiel. Spoiler alert, Ezekiel. I want to talk about him a lot with regards to alternate island. Um, Katie does hook up with Ezekiel, and Sadie in supposedly in the sequel was actually going to become one of the main antagonists. In the sequel of Alternate Island, there was going to be like 3 or 4 different villains because this season was going to have like over 30. It was instead of like the action of World Tour where it's like the roster was cut. This one is like just like the island plus the 6 OC campers plus like 10 more OC campers. So the villains were going to be Justin, Courtney, Sadie, and one of the new OC, which was like a guy that Justin was apparently like a was basically like a jerk jock, like Joe. No, not Joe. Lightning, but like more like a more stereotypical like business type jock. But yeah, but Sadie was going to be like one of the main antagonists of that story, and her story is the fact that she was really really bitter to Ezekiel over the fact that she thinks that Katie basically Ezekiel took Katie away from her, and she wants revenge on that to the point where like she actually becomes like a supermodel. She actually loses all her weight, becomes like gets like I think breast implants, and just becomes a super vain character. The story never progressed past the first chapter, so who knows how that would have played out, but it's fine. Let's get these two out of the way. Eva is like the perfect example of a fodder character. I think I'll put her here. I'm putting her here. Eva's Eva's whole purpose in the story is that she's supposed to be an early boot, and she does the job better than every other early boot in both Gen 1 and Gen 2. She shows up, she has like one or two character moments that kind of like just give you what she's supposed to, who she's supposed to be and what she's supposed to do. Have her get that big moment that causes her to get screwed over, and then she gets the boot. She comes back at the merge, but again, she's there for fodder because the whole thing. She's just there to get to give everyone at least a little more breathing time and develop their characters more. So she gets the boot again. So I do like her. She has a basic enough character that you do know who she is. She doesn't deliver any more deeper than that, but she, for what she is, she's fine. And Alternate Island, on the other hand, she goes way far. I think she does make it just a little bit past the merge. No. Yeah, I believe she's eliminated on the chapter before the Willamette Mall challenge. I think either around the merge. She's eliminated around the merge in that story. And her character she's pretty much the same, but since she's there longer, she actually starts to cool down. Her anger issues actually don't flare up. She hooks up with Tyler, but they break up between the first story and the second story. But most importantly, she becomes a big sister figure to Ezekiel, leading to like one of my favorite moments in the story, where it was the paintball deer hunt, and Owen, and instead of like canon, where like one team was the hunters and one team was the deer, this time it's like eliminated campers. They're the hunters and basically last man standing. And Owen is one of the hunters, and he's like hunting for Ezekiel. And then Eva just finds out he's hunting Ezekiel's like, oh hell no. So so we proceed. So we see like a very hilarious sequence where like Eva's just completely just it's like you ain't hurting his homeschool boy, and Owen just gets pissed, scared. Is like, yes, but the hunter has to hunt and I have to do my job. Don't hurt me. And Eva just beats the shit out of him. And even when Eva gets eliminated, instead of like in canon where she like erupts, like she actually starts getting mad. But then she looks at Ezekiel and realizes that she got something out of it. She lasted as long as possible. She didn't get eliminated because unlike Heather manipulation. No, she got eliminated because Courtney basically manipulated the situation to kind of to literally screw her over, and Eva's like, take her down, take her down and win this for me, homeschool. And it's honestly such a sweet moment. That's fine. Ezekiel is if it wasn't for Gollum Ezekiel, I would have put him in F tier because it's something. He's a homeschool boy, and that's all he is. That's all he'll ever be. And then he gets eliminated in season 1 because he inadvertently makes sexist remarks. In season 3, well, I think in season 2 he tries to say something, but like everyone keeps telling him to shut up because they just won't forgive the sexist remarks. And in season 3, he gets eliminated first again because they still haven't forgotten the sexist remarks. And then he constantly stays in the ship and kind of becomes like a Gollum figure. And after that, he becomes like a reoccurring antagonist. Like I know he was supposedly the villain of the 100th episode of Total Drama, where like they have to try and put him down and stuff like that and take him out because he kidnaps Chris and tries to kill him for basically ruining his life in my opinion. I do think he's I just like Eva, he's technically fodder. I do subscribe to the idea that he was made because I think the head writer probably does not like homeschool kids, and he just made Ezekiel to kind of like just do as an insult to them and make fun of them. Alternate Island, he actually comes in third because in Alternate Island, one of the original characters is a psychologist, and so everything kind of stays canon until this OC Jesse talks to Ezekiel. because he makes the inadvertent sexist remarks, like he doesn't even know what's going on. So Jesse, instead of blowing up like the rest of the people who like gets really pissed at Ezekiel, she takes the time. It's like, okay, I'm gonna talk to him and kind of find out why you thinking that. And we find out that Ezekiel is homeschooled to the point where he lives on his mom and his dad live on a farm in the middle of nowhere. Like he doesn't really be social with anyone. He pretty much works at the farm eternally. And in story, it's eventually revealed that the reason why Ezekiel joined Total Drama in this story is because he's actually about to inherit the farm. He's literally his father apparently is getting up in age, and he wants to give Ezekiel the farm, but they both agreed that Ezekiel should have that one moment, that one time to just be a teenager, be like have his time to socialize before he technically has to run the farm for the rest of his life by him, like more or less by himself. I know I think I believe based on like I'm guessing that between the first and second stories that Eva actually started working at the farm and helping Ezekiel out with the farm. But I think that's just mental gymnastics at the point. Point is, Ezekiel was literally is going to take over the farm, and they wanted him to have just that one time of just being just a normal person. The reason that's brought up with the sexism act is his mother was actually a very strict not only a very traditionalist woman herself. So basically, the father did all the farming, everything, and the mother did all the at home stuff. But she also watched a lot of soap operas that featured women in traditional gender roles with like cooking and cleaning and stuff like that. And that was the only source of like outside world information that Ezekiel ever got. So it's not so much that he wasn't even being sexist. He just grew up and just didn't know how like there's more than just his gender roles. And even like later in the story, where DVDs of like from other campers, we get like Ezekiel's mother literally recording herself like apologizing for what she did, and she didn't realize that it would influence Ezekiel in such a way. And they basically said, try and win one for us. I liked it, and even like in the story, it was a great. He had a great character. He was more or less the main character throughout the majority of the story, especially in the merge when Courtney comes back. We'll talk about more about that when I get to her. Um, and even like the way he gets eliminated in that story is more just he doesn't really so much lose, but more Chris just fucking screws him over because he kind of gets he's there to like shave Chris's head, and so Chris literally kicks the razor out of his hand and causes it to break. So it's like you can't finish there, you're gone. And then Chris, like in his panic, like just immediately eliminates Ezekiel. I think that's fine. I like it's such a sad state of affairs where like Ezekiel, like even like considering the fact that Ezekiel was like more or less the main character of Alternate Island, he wasn't the best friend character in the story. That was actually Heather. Surprise, surprise. But I think Ezekiel's fine. DJ, he's a D. Here's my problem with DJ. They keep giving him stuff to do in each season. Like in season 1, he's like the last cannon foddery holdout because he just kind of gets eliminated in Island by seeing Heather in like a mud mask. Okay. But then in action, they kind of give him the storyline of like Chef trying to at least try and get him to competitive by helping him cheat and all that. And I thought, oh, well, it was going to be like a neat character moment, like maybe DJ not so much becoming like a villain, but more like gaining at least a little competitive edge, like fleshing out his character. Nope, they just completely cut that storyline out from under him, and he just doesn't. because it goes back to like what he was in Island. And then in World Tour, they do the whole stupid curse storyline that just completely torpedoes his character even harder. If I didn't, and I and of course, is the whole thing I think there was with Dawn in an All Stars. Like I said, I can't remember if DJ was in All Stars, so it's fine. I really think they kept trying to do stuff with DJ, but they just kept ruining his character by just resetting it over and over again and not giving the time to develop his character. Like if it was just an island, I would probably put him here. But the fact they kept trying with his character to do something, only to constantly just cut the character's legs out from underneath him and do nothing with him. It's just so sad. It's disappointing. Who do we have next? I don't know who the next. Yeah, let's go with go with Beth. Beth is in a similar situation with DJ, and the fact that on her own, like if we just talk about Island, she's not bad. She's not great, but she's not bad. The problem with Beth was specifically action. I don't know what the writing crew were thinking to put her in the finals, because she was the fact that Action's entire story was like building towards Harold versus Duncan. Like that honestly would have been a great finale, because that's what the entire season was kind of building towards. And then they just unceremoniously eliminated Harold. So it's like, okay, and now we got a whole cool situation with Lindsay, and it's like, oh, it's gonna be Duncan versus Lindsay. All right, it's not. I would have preferred Harold versus Duncan, but Lindsay's all right because they put a lot of work into Lindsay for Action to the point where like, okay, you could easily, I can see it, but then they eliminate her at the end, and then we get stuck with Duncan versus Beth, who in Action Beth just became a one note joke of just constantly saying how she has a boyfriend. It's so bad. Like I'm putting her in C because of Island. If it was just Island, I put her here. Like I said, I don't think it's bad. I just Action just made me just fucking not want her here. Yeah, let's go Tyler. Tyler's okay. He's basically like the butt monkey of the season. He has a lot of standout funny moments. He's technically the jock, but he's not a jerk jock like Lightning, so that's why I said Lightning was like the jerk jock archetype instead of the jock. He's a very Tyler's a very goof is just a very decent comedy goofball. I liked him. I think it was alright. I think the only thing they changed in Alternate Island was like he hooks up with Eva, and that's really it. He doesn't really have. He gets eliminated pretty early. I think he was like one of the people who gets screwed over by Heather in the first half. Because in Alternate Island, there's two halves of the story. Heather was villain of the first half. Courtney was villain of the second half. Yeah, that's fine. I think for what he is as like a more a comedy character, I think he's fine. I think he's good. That's it. Let's get Noah. Okay, so I don't know what to say about Noah besides I really like Noah in World Tour. Like if it wasn't for the point that by the time he got eliminated, it was becoming increasingly obvious that it was going to end with Heather and Alejandro. It wasn't 100% cinched in, but there was enough. but there was enough evidence that that's looked like the path they were going. I would have been fine with Noah actually winning the damn thing. I think in Island, Noah's just a nothing character. He's really just a filler character. But in World Tour, we got to see him develop and grow as a character. It's he gets like a lot of depth with like his family and the expectation he has from his on it. I think it's he's a good character. I can't remember much, but I know. But from what I remember, I really liked it. Um, he's only here because of World War. Like the fact that he made it so long and we got to see him grow. He made villain. He was the one who exposed Alejandro's deception to everyone, which honestly was a really badass moment. He got a lot of neat character moments with Cody and um, Cody and Tyler, and I just remember Tyler was also in World Tour, and they kind of expanded his character a bit. I completely forgot he was in World Tour for a second. But back to Noah. Noah was they gave like a lot of neat moments with Duncan and Cody and even like Izzy and Owen. Like he does so much in that story that he pretty much hard carries the. I think he actually hard carries like the first half of the season by himself. It's not until like near the halfway point where like everything's starting to shape up and like he kind of has to share space with like Alejandro and Cody and Heather. But the first half of it, he more or less carries it on his back. It's more or less just him, Noah, and Alejandro against the world. I really liked it. In Alternate Island, he basically takes the he kind of the same. They borrow heavily from World Tour for Noah's character. The only change is he kind of hooks up with Beth. That's fine, but that's really it. He does get screwed over by. I think he was around the merge point too in that story, but that's it. Okay, so now we're getting the big boys. Let's do Bridget. Bridget is just weaker Jeff. I freaking love Jeff. Bridget is not bad. I think the whole point behind Bridget is she's supposed to be Kelly Slater, based off Kelly Slater, just minus losing her arm. No, not Kelly. Yeah, I think she is based off Kelly Slater. She's based off. I believe Bridget is based off some surfer, like an actual famous surfer. I can't remember. I don't even think it's Kelly Slater is the one who lost her arm to the shark. I think it was someone else. But I believe that's who she's based. That's who Bridget is kind of based off. In Island, she's basically Zoe done right. She's just basically the plucky girl next door who likes to enjoy physical activities. She's a laid back dude, like a dudette sort of deal. I do think she's fine. I do. There's not much to speak to her because she's like the second last filler character behind DJ. Like she gets eliminated before DJ. I think you actually get eliminated back to back if I remember right. She kind of does like there's also the side story with the interviews in action, which is fine. Explores their dynamic and the relationship, and then she just gets screwed over by Alejandro in World Tour, which honestly, I think she was like the weakest one who gets screwed by Alejandro. I can't remember. I think she's the one who gets stuck to the pole, which honestly I think was just minor character assassination, and that's it. Alternate Island, she just gets screwed over by. She doesn't really change that much from Island's personality, so there's not really much to say about her. I know she does get screwed. She does get screwed over by. No, she doesn't get screwed over by Heather. I think she just legitimately loses. I think I can't remember every detail because there's so much happening in World Tour in Ultra Island. Cody or Trent? Because both of these are kind of the same situation where they're just there. I'll put Trent in C, Cody in B. Trent, they more or less kind of occupies. Trent is the musician guy, and Cody's just the guy. uh, Trent was just there to hook up with Gwen and just break up, and then he leaves. And then action happened, and they did the whole 9 thing. And that's another thing. I don't get the whole point with the 9 because that honestly just feels like they just introduce a random character trait just to try and break him up. I did find out recently, and apparently they kept like they did not want a first relationship to like succeed, so they kept kept artificially creating these problems to break up the relationships, like what happened with Bridget and Jeff, like Jeff getting too big for his own britches in the aftermath show, and like Gwen and Trent with like the 9 thing, and of course Courtney and Duncan with the whole Gwen cheating on him, Duncan cheating on Gwen with Courtney, Courtney with Gwen. I can't. I think he was also in World Tour, but I think he was like eliminated. He was part of the whole curse storyline with DJ, so I think he just got screwed over with that. In alternate island, he's just there too. He's eliminated very early. He still got enough time to hook up with Gwen in that story, but so that's fine. I can't remember. I can't even remember if he made it to the merge. No, he does. Yeah, he does make it to the merge. Trent in the story, Trent does make it to the merge, but he gets completely fucked over by Courtney because at that time Courtney's literally controls the entire island, and basically she eliminated Trent just to basically prove that she can keep Gwen in line. We'll talk about that when I get to Gwen. Cody he's just the average guy. He's very plain Jane. He's just, hi, how are you? I'm Cody. And then at World Tour happened, where just like Noah, they like really pumped up his character. He had to deal with Sierra. Like the fact that honestly, just the fact his character arc in World Tour revolved around having to deal with Sierra and stay sane was fine. And I honestly thought, oh, he's being built up as an underdog. He's like, instead of doing the plain guy, they're like, oh, they're doing this whole thing where like he's just, not trying to win. I'm trying not to be in last. Like the whole adage of like the 2 guys being chased by the tiger. And it's like, well, what the tiger's gonna be eating one of us. It's like, yeah, that's right. So why are you moving faster? It's like, simple. I don't have to be faster than the tiger. I just have to be faster than you. That's what Cody felt like in World Tour. He's not trying to. While he's trying to win, he's also really trying not to lose. Like he's trying to stay mostly in the background. Like most of his story in World Tour is basically sequestered from everything that's happening because he has to deal with Sierra. And until like the final couple episodes where like the group is small enough that he's like, bam, I'm back, bam, I'm back. Forgot about me, bitch. It's like the underdog. And he became like such a massive wild card that I really legitimately wanted Cody to win. Like he was a true blue underdog in World Tour. In Alternate Island, he basically just hooks up with Lindsay, and there's even like a little storyline where he has to get like his Lindsay's sister's approval and all that, and it's sweet. I think it's fine. And nothing really to like. I think. I think no, he's eliminated. I think a little bit before the merge, but he's like he tells Lindsay, he's like, don't give up. It's like, okay. But I think Lindsay gets eliminated a couple episodes, couple chapters later. LaShawn. Yeah, let's do LaShawn. LaShawn is a weird one because she's supposed to represent the stereotype of the sassy black woman, and she does that very well. The problem is every season she's in, she gets get completely fucked over. Everyone remembers an island where she gets just shot in the foot when like Chris asks all the losers like, "Oh, hey, do you want to be say eliminated?" And like everyone says Lashana, and even Lashana in the show's like, "Huh? Like what? Huh? What? I'm gone." And then in World Tour, she got screwed over by Alejandro. I can't remember if she was in action though. I think she was, but I think she gets eliminated pretty. I think she gets screwed over by Justin. I honestly can't remember. Um, uh, where she placed, if she was even in action or not. She's fine. Like the worst I could say about Lashana is she just gets screwed over. But as a core character, she's great. She's good. She's not great, but she's good. Um, in alternate island, she hooks up. She actually hooks up with Duncan, and then there's like a massive story in the second half of the story where she gets like a sudden, like throughout like a big part of the second half, she gets like a bona fide grudge against Heather. Because at this point, Heather's kind of going through a heel face turn, kind of becoming a good person, and Lashana's like, no, she's just lying to you, she's manipulating to you, and is deliberately just trying to screw over Heather, like try and get everyone to force her out to the point where like she actually gets eliminated in that story because everyone calls Lashana out like becoming too obsessed over her hatred to Heather. However, I believe there is actually an explanation in story. Basically, Lashana actually had a cousin who was bullied for her looks. It was actually minor. It's actually minorly applied. It was Heather doing that, and her cousin basically killed herself. So Lashana, but the whole thing with like it being confirmed to be Heather was like only like slightly applied because the only hint is like the fact that they were queen bee types and the queen and the lady like and the lady just acted a lot like Heather, and so she from correspondence that it like I said it's only implied to be Heather, it's not confirmed, and so Lashana basically gets like a grudge because she gets like all these flashbacks to like her literal relative just getting bullied for her looks to the point where she died, and she sees Heather trying to like redeem herself, and she thinks it's just a bullshit move, and getting so obsessed it kind of costs her the competition. It's a really deep character, but in Island and at World Tour, well, Island she's fine, she's great. Who's next? Izzy. She's a one note character in the season. I know she appeared in all three seasons, but she doesn't. She's kind of like DJ. She doesn't really develop that much throughout all three seasons. She does have a lot of funny moments, but being a comedy character can only take you so far. At least with DJ, they tried to give him something. They just kept fucking him over. With Izzy, they didn't even give her that. In Alternate Island, she basically just becomes like a mentor figure to one of the OCs, Laura, to kind of get her out of her shell. And kind of even Izzy kind of like wonders. It's like that worked too well. Well, she's I think she's also the first victim of Courtney. No, she gets Izzy gets eliminated in the Griff Ball challenge, where like is Courtney just really wants to punish everyone who she thinks screwed her over. But yeah, it's fine. Okay, let's get the last non high tier guy over with. Owen. I'm split on Owen because on one hand, he's a decent character. He's a good character. He's canonically the winner of Island. It's just he's kind of like Izzy in the fact that he's kind of a one note character. He has some moments. He has some generally funny moments, and I do think he had like there were moments where I really liked both in Island and World Tour. I believe he was just kind of a background a fodder figure in action, but in Island and World Tour he wasn't bad. just the fact that like they couldn't really think of anything for him besides big guy that farts a lot and barely did anything with his character kind of screwed him over. In Alternate Island, he's an early boot. Um, Although the fact that him leaving kind of causes Izzy to get like break the fourth wall. It's like, wait a minute, there's supposed to be other people here. I wonder, maybe this is an alternate reality. Nah, you're probably thinking something weird. Yeah, you're probably right. So yeah, all these characters are in B or above. Like these, let's go with let's go with Jeff. He's a B. He's a very hilarious party dude. I really loved his story in the Aftermath show. I think he's a great character. Very entertaining. I like the fact that like all of his he kind of he got even like his hilarious elimination in action where he just basically got eliminated because he kept spending all his time making out with Bridget. And like I can't remember. I think Chris actually just eliminated both of them. I think I can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong or right on that. And then they just hosted the Aftermath show, and then we got the whole storyline with like Jeff kind of becoming a kind of like a vain superstar, and then like and then Bridget like has to, everyone in the Aftermath crew has to, like slap him out of it. It's a decent character. I like him. In Alternate Island, he's kind of the same way. He actually gets eliminated by injury. Like there was a challenge, like one of the original challenges, like they have to cross a wooden bridge, and Chef is like firing paintballs on them, and Jeff actually falls, and they try to catch him, and he kind of breaks his leg, and like even Chris like, oh damn, sorry, because you're out. It's like, at least I didn't get it. At least I lost by like in like a unconventional way, despite the fact I think in this story Beth gets eliminated by bear mauling, but he takes it in stride. He's just a guy that just, I don't care if I win or lose, as long as I have fun. Bruh! Okay. This is gonna be hard because I think everyone here is A or S. Courtney's A. Lindsay is A. In Island, she was a dumb blonde. However, she's here because of action. Like, come on, you cannot tell me watching action and seeing Lindsay like basically square up. It's like, no, I may be the dumb broad. I may have breasts as big as my head, but damn it, I'm gonna try, and nothing will stop me. And just going the distance, proving everyone wrong that she can, despite the fact she's a dim-witted bimbo, that she can go the distance. And I legit, like, despite the fact I wanted Harold and Duncan for action, I really wanted Duncan versus Lindsay. Through most, like, Duncan carried action, so I knew Duncan was gonna make it going to be in the finale, no matter what. Duncan literally carried action. I legitimately was split on Harold and Lindsay through like most of the season, and Harold went, so it's like, come on, Lindsay! And then Lindsay went, and then we got Beth, and it was like, oh, confidence, fucking stupid, so fucking stupid. But I did like Lindsay's also, I think, like is technically what people consider like the most iconic moment in the entire series, where it's like she curses out Heather, and they have the censored middle finger. In Alternate Island, she actually does the same thing, but not to Heather, but the Chef, where like Chef is like putting like insulting Cody and Duncan, and like Lindsay just walks up to Chef and just glares at him. It's like, what do you want to say, Missy? And it just basically tells him off. And like Chef is like off put. And we even get like a very hilarious moment. Like everyone is just shocked at what Lindsay's doing, except for Ezekiel, where he's like writing everything down, everything she's taking down. And then Lindsay just completely kicks him in the nuts twice. He's like, oh, my little swimmers. And then Duncan runs in. That was like my favorite moment. One of my favorite moments for that story. And he even gets a brick joke where like later in the story, Ezekiel takes one of the OCs, Andrew, around like like private. It's like, hey Andrew, yeah, what do these words mean? Oh no! And it's just a hilarious moment all around. Um, but damn, no, but I do know Lindsay. Lindsay is like the first. Lindsay's like the first person to get eliminated post merge. She got screwed over by a ruling that Courtney indicted on the island, so she gets screwed over by that. But yeah, that's Lindsay. I was like, Lindsay, come on, the middle finger thing is too perfect. Duncan. Let's get the big one out of the way. Duncan, the statistically best contestant in the entire series. 5 eliminations. 3 were asterisks. There was Island, where he gets screwed over by Shep because Shep basically just had it out for him at that point, and even if like Duncan won, Chef was in charge, so he probably said fuck the rules and just eliminate Duncan anyway. Duncan won. Duncan won action. Duncan's first elimination in World Tour was he refused to sing the song by Chris. He said that's a waste of time. All right, goodbye. And then he came back later and came in 5th. And that one, he more or less just got eliminated like normally. He lost fair and square in that one. And then All Stars, he literally eliminated himself by blowing up Chris's mansion to try and restore his bad boy reputation. I think that is great. I think just as a core concept, Duncan was a great character. You see, like he's like I think the most developed character of the entire roster. I honestly think, unironically think Duncan's the best character in the entire Total Drama series. Like even better than Gwen, even better than Heather. Duncan, Duncan's like the man. I loved Duncan. Um, he literally carried both Island and Action. He didn't fully carry Island by himself. It was a 3-way thing between him, Gwen, and Heather. But he literally hard carried all of Action on just completely on his back. Like there wasn't a memorable moment where Duncan wasn't involved. Like even like the acting scene where like bah bah and he like made Chef cry. It's like bah bah. Yeah, that's and I just even though like when like it was revealed that Beth was fighting him, it's like oh Beth is just getting fed to Duncan because that's what it felt like. They didn't want to have anyone split. They wanted to say oh here's the awesome guy and here's Beth. you already know who's gonna win. But yeah, Duncan was like the perfect character. Even in All Stars, where like the whole point of his character was like him undoing all of his character development. It wasn't like the author's not doing anything with him. That's like we just want to give Duncan like a proper send off. So it's like, yeah, let's just in one final glorious moment have him completely fuck over his entire character arc. It's surprisingly in character for Duncan. Say, no, all that hard work, all that character development, I'm sitting in the flames. And just completely fuck it over. It's just phenomenal. In Alternate Island, he's phenomenal in that story too. He's like the reason Courtney gets taken down in the story because he basically orders everyone. It's like, no, eliminate me. I could take her down from out, but I need to be off the island to do it because, as in canon, his whole family's cops, and so basically, in context, I'll talk more about it when I get to Courtney. But in context, Duncan needed to get off the island in order to basically to start building a case to get Courtney off the island. And the only way he could do that is if he's able to talk to his family, who are cops and who are actually well respected in his area, including his brother Grayson, who's an intern on the island in alternate. So basically, him and his brother basically are like the crux for how Courtney gets taken down in alternate. Don't Harold, just come on, it's Harold. I don't need to say anything more than it's Harold. Come on, he's the nerd. She's the geek. He is like the best underdog in the total drama series. Like he screws over Duncan. It's like, yeah, let's see how you did it when someone messes with your love life and open like fucking over the voting system and like Chris allowing it's like eh, eh. But like that coming back to bite him like almost immediately after. Uh, he's he's literally just the perfect underdog. He has a lot of funny moments. He has a lot of memorable moments. Just like Duncan, he pretty much carried action. Not as like solo-y as Duncan, but he carried like, a lot of the big moments in the first half of action. Him, Harold held zone, and like I said, there's a reason why people wanted the finale to be these two because these two are eternal rivals. Uh, I will mention in Alternate Island. This is the big spoiler. Harold wins Alternate Island. He basically wins the whole thing. And he basically doesn't really change much from his island counterpart, besides just befriending more people, and also playing a big. I think he also plays a big part in the Lashana side story when Lashana's going after Heather. But he more or less just fulfills the role of like he's just the guy who kind of like everything kind of happens around him. He's just like, I'm gonna do my own thing. Gosh. Another side note is in Alternate Island. The reason why Duncan has out for Harold is it. There's even a flashback to it. Like Duncan was friends with a group of guys who were part of the racketeering ring, and when they finally got caught, they ran. But Duncan was actually the basically the watch guy, basically look out for the cops while they did the racketeering. But he didn't know they were doing racketeering. He thought they were just playing like a prank or some kind of game. So when the cops showed up, they bailed and left Duncan behind. And Duncan finds out the guy who called the cops and got him arrested was a guy who looked like Harold. Not perfect enough that over time Duncan actually just kind of realizes that he kind of went too far in his actions. He like when Harold like falls off and kind of gets a concussion due to Duncan like escalating like the prank war between him and Harold. Duncan kind of realizes he goes too far, and he kind of like he kind of realizes he's projecting the whole thing, and he kind of like he lays off Harold for the most part. He's like, yeah, I kind of fucked up, but they still kind of keep up the little rivalry until Duncan goes, but it's more subdued. But it's Harold. Come on, it's fucking Harold. He's not an underdog. He's a Chad. Gwen. Gwen. Damn it. No, I'm gonna save Gwen for last because Gwen is like the just so hard to place. Courtney. I like to see. I like Courtney's character. Getting screwed over by Harold is a great character. Her becoming the main villain in the second half of action is a nice sense of progression. Like her, like slowly just getting tired of Duncan. It's like, nah, I'm fucking you over. And then of course there's like the whole rivalry she had with Gwen in World Tour. I can't remember if she's in All Stars. No, she is in All Stars because they had like a whole story where like
she makes fun of Gwen for being part of the villain side, despite the fact that Gwen's only crime was like breaking up Courtney and Duncan. But yeah, I don't really have much to say. She kind of speaks for herself. And also because I can't remember like half the stuff she did. I know she was just a overall solid character. In Alternate Island, she's the main fucking villain. Basically, what happens is since Ezekiel, like everyone kind of slightly forgets Ezekiel for the sexist remark. Guess who gets eliminated first? Courtney fucking resents what happened because she got screwed over because her one silver bullet, like mentioning everyone that Ezekiel's sexist, and like Jesse kind of smoothing as much more people over, kind of gets her the boot, and so she kind of carries that resentment throughout the entire first half. She constantly comes back to the island because throughout the first half of the story, they constantly get challenges that bring back people who are eliminated, and Courtney constantly tries to get in, specifically so she can hurt the people who screwed her over, and more people screw her over, and basically humiliate her. Then what happens is she finds out about the merge, and the fact that 4 people are gonna be brought back. What does she do? She calls her father and has him buy the entire network that airs Total Drama. Just buys the entire thing and just installs himself as CEO, and then goes out of his way to give Courtney as many hack rules as possible. She basically, to keep herself on the island. First challenge for the elimination. The people who come back for the merge, they can't be eliminated. But Courtney basically strong arms Chris not to say anything until the elimination ceremony, resulting in Lindsay's elimination because everyone voted for Courtney except for Courtney, who voted for Lindsay because she wanted to make people suffer. She is given a deluxe house. Basically, she gets her own home. She gets complete control of the entire camera network of the island, so she has eyes everywhere, just constantly spying. She gets a full on cheat sheet showcasing what all the challenges are coming up, all the future challenges, so she actually is able to prepare and screw over everyone as much as she can. She constantly blackmails Gwen and Heather to basically work for her. She's like, nah, I'm not gonna care, man. No, I'm just gonna fucking blackmail you. Because, Heather, your parents are going through divorce because people are finding out that your father is extremely abusive, and Gwen, your brother Michael, who's an intern, he's a murderer. So, if you don't do what I say, I'm gonna basically reveal all this on social media. What do you say? And basically forces both Gwen and Heather to work for her against their will. And Courtney was such an amazing villain in Alternate Island. Like, she's great in like in the canon season, but she is like one of the best villains in any fan fiction in Alternate Island because of just how much effort at literally the entire island, even Chris and Chef had to all work together to just get her out there, and even her elimination was so beautiful. Like Duncan going to a lawyer and basically giving her all the evidence, and the lawyer having to literally arrest her father and then personally come to the island as Courtney, not even like trying to do anything bad, but literally just straight up murder Ezekiel. Like, just grabs a pipe and literally just about to like bash his head in. And like, no, you're not. There's not even going to be an elimination ceremony. You're disqualified. Why? Because what did I do? You're basically you're basically rigging a game, which I think is like in violation of gambling laws. it's very tech. It's like legalese and stuff like that. But basically, Courtney basically has to get strong armed by Chef, and like she's just getting forced off. And then Gwen walks up with like apocalypse, like, "What do you want, slut?" And basically just and Gwen just winds up and just punches her so hard she flies into the boat with like a broken nose. And it's such an amazing end to an amazing villain. Like, I come on, it's Gwen, it's like it's fine. Heather, S tier. Like Heather's Heather's the best villain. Like that's just the fact that every single other villain until Scott basically just copied Heather's formula kind of speaks for how well Heather was as a villain. She's very manipulative. She's very high society. She's the queen bee. She's very charismatic. She knows how to bend the rules around her. Even like in a lot of like fan made total drama island fan fiction where like they do crossover stuff, a lot of the villains there basically just ape Heather's formula because it's a tried and true method. Like they know it's the Heather guarantee. She comes in third. She's in action. She has the whole thing with the store with the blonde hair. She is the kind of winner of World Tour. I really loved her arc in like the whole love hate thing with Alejandro. It's a great character arc. I was actually rooting for her because I knew like I had, like I said, with Cody and Alejandro, it was as the series was going on, it was becoming obvious it was going to be Alejandro versus Heather at the finals. But they kept staring left out that maybe something might happen. But no, Heather Heather's rivalry with Alejandro was perfect. I think I don't like what they did with Heather in All Stars. She's basically just becomes canon father to Mao. In Alternate Island, she's basically the most relevant character. She starts out as her canon self, but then she eliminates Laura's girlfriend Sarah, and instead of everyone jeering her, she takes a look at Laura and she just sees a heartbroken girl, and she kind of after that she's constantly in conflict with herself, and then comes the DVD, the VCRs taped from her family, where it's implied like the fact that her father was actually like not only abusing Heather but also her her two sisters, Jewel and I can't remember what the brother's name because Jewel's more important to Heather's character, and basically, uh, Heather's father giving Heather an ultimatum like either you win, or you're not, or we're literally just a band. Like I will literally physically prevent you from ever coming back to this house. And that's the that's the MO Courtney uses to like keep her behind. And then the merge happens, and then she actually starts getting like a conscious in the form of her sister Jewel in her head, and we kind of get like an in-depth analysis on like who Heather is as a character. She's literally the best written character in Alternate Island, because of this. After she realizes that what she's been doing in the first half is wrong, she resolves herself. Like she doesn't even, like she just doesn't even care about winning anymore. She just wants to earn Laura's forgiveness. Like I just want, like I don't care if I don't even care if I win. Like eliminate me, but I want to earn this one person's forgiveness. Just I want to earn it. I don't want her to even apologize. Like sorry, he's not gonna. I want to earn it, and going and finding out like her personality, like her queen bee persona is due to the fact of like her basically just squaring up to her father and trying and basically enduring the abuse, and also inflicting quotation marks the abuse to Jewel to her siblings. Like whenever they screw up, she pretends to abuse them, but she's actually caring for him. It's such a different dynamic of Heather that I just love. She also gets like a lot of the best moments. She has what essentially is my personal favorite moment in the story, where like she actually gets eliminated, and like she's about to leave the island, and then she hears someone behind her. She turns around, it's Laura, the person she was trying to earn forgiveness, and like Laura's just looking at her, and they're like a silent standoff. Laura hands Heather letter and just leaves, and like Heather hesitates, and she opens the letter, and it's just a basic drawing of Laura and Heather holding hands with like the lettering "I forgive you," and she realized she got what she came for. She got a new perspective. She got what she wanted at the end of the day. She just wanted to do something to earn this girl's forgiveness. And I think that's such a touching moment. After she gets eliminated, there's still a plenty story long, but Heather was like the glue that carried like the bulk of the story. Every single key part of Alternate Island revolved around Heather. That's why I liked Heather so much. That's why she was just a great character overall. And I really just she completes the trifecta. Like now Gwen. Oh boy, Gwen. Because there's two sides of Gwen. There is Island Action Gwen, which is really good. Like there's a reason next to Chris, she is like the face of the Total Drama series. And then there's World Tour and All Stars. And then there's World Tour Gwen, where like the writers are like, all right, that's very compassionate. Please face wall, and basically just filled her character with so many holes. They fucked over Gwen in World Tour like that, just to such a degree. I want to give her S because she was the best. She was literally the best character on Island, and she was pretty good in action. But World Tour just completely fucked it all up. Like even in All Stars where they tried to do damage control, it wasn't nearly enough. I want to put Gwen in S. I really want to put Gwen in S, but World Tour, I'm literally split. You know what? There, I'm gonna do this. Gwen. Yes, I'm doing this. Shut up. I can't decide between S and A because Gwen is such no character in the entire franchise in the entire Total Drama series got character assassination harder than Gwen. World Tour just completely just destroyed Gwen's character, and it's just so bad. Ugh, Gwen. For Alternate Island, she kind of stays the same as Island. The only wrinkle with Gwen's character in Alternate Island is actually not even so much her, but it's more her brother Michael. So, so going back to the Courtney thing, with like Courtney blackmailing Gwen and Heather, this is actually kind of built. This is like the single longest story plot point in the entire story because Michael's kind of built up compared to every other intern as like a big source of intrigue, like to the point where Chef actually knows Michael from jail. Like when Chef worked in the jail system, he knew Michael. He knew Michael was like no, Michael's an infamous guy, and the intrigue built up over the entire story, and it got even worse when like Courtney, whatever he did, Courtney's using as blackmail, saying that whatever she'll reveal will not only ruin his life but ruin her life. And it was just so magnificently built up. And basically the reveal is not Courtney. Gwen was a young kid who was going to school, and she didn't even have the goth persona. Basically, what happened is Gwen was actually starting to get groomed by one of her teachers, but she didn't know it was being groomed. It was like just the start of being groomed. Like Michael kind of wandered into her room one day just to say hi and see how school was going, because he figured out like she was kind of like away, like late from school. So he's like, "What happened?" It's like, "Well, one of my teachers, Mr. I think Johnson, something with a J, wanted me to stay home. I was like, what? Stay past school. I was like, why? Because he was making me dress up funny, and he was like doing something. And then Michael goes completely stone faced, like he immediately knows what was going on. It's like, do tell. And Gwen basically said, oh, he was making me dress in like bathing suits and all these clothes, take a picture of me in like weird angles and poses. And it's like, mm-hmm. And so Michael stands up, leaves, and despite it's never actually stated, it's like the Heather situation where it's like implied to be Heather, but unlike the Heather thing where it's like it's vague enough that you can kind of make the argument. No, despite it being implied, it's very obvious that he basically hunted down the teacher and killed the guy, and he went to jail for a long time. And once Gwen found out what actually was going on, she basically adopted the goth persona as like a shield to kind of wall off everyone. So that way, people not only would people kind of take advantage of her, but also so people don't find out that she was essentially a grooming victim. And and basically Michael's only uh, an intern on the island specifically because he's basically on parole. And one of the conditions for him being on parole is that no one's supposed to know the truth of what happened. So basically, Michael's whole murder, like him murdering someone, that's supposed to be kept secret. So Gwen is stuck between a rock and a hard place because not only would Courtney revealing the information, not only they would completely break parole, and so Michael would literally spend the rest of his life in jail because he still murdered someone, despite the fact it was more like he was like even though I think it was like they had it like the implied the lawyers had to like constantly fight because he technically murdered a groomer, but Gwen's entire social life would just completely just break into shambles, and it was great writing because of how built up the intrigue behind Gwen and the relationship with her brother was, and honestly, that was just amazing. Um, but yeah, that's honestly what I would put as the tier list for total drama. Again, if you want me, if I do want to hear your thoughts on this. Also, I do recommend reading Total Alternate Island. It's a phenomenal fan fiction. But yeah, that's that's where I would put everyone. So leave a comment in the comment section below. Like the video. Tell me your thoughts. I will see you next video because, like I said, this video is not going to be released until days later. This has been Dark Symphony 777 and cut.